Da, am revenit. La ora asta ar fi trebuit să avem alături de noi pe domnul Dan Câmpean, șeful Centrului Național de Răspuns la Incidente de Securitate Cibernetică. Din păcate, așa se întâmplă cu VIP-urile și cu persoane care sunt extrem de importante pentru țară, de ce nu? Ei sunt reținuți în momentul de față la guvern, însă vom avea plăcerea să avem un reprezentant al CERT-ului și este vorba despre domnul Mihai Rotariu, care este Communications Lead în cadrul Centrului Național de Răspuns la Incidente de Securitate Cibernetică. Mihai, mulțumim foarte mult că ți-ai făcut timp să fii astăzi cu noi.
Mulțumesc și eu pentru invitație, transmit și eu scuzele de rigoare pentru Dan, care este reținut în momentul ăsta la guvern, și să avem o prezentare interesantă, zic eu.
Te rog, share și go on.
Am înțeles. I understand that we have to talk in English, so I will switch to English now. And I want to start my speech by referring to our current situation at international level during these uncertain times, something caused by the emergence of the COVID pandemic. It is well over a year since we've lived and worked around physical restrictions that basically dictate our daily lives. And the pandemic actually causes us not only to physically keep our distance, but they bring us closer through technology. The fact that a large part of us operate online remotely has directly led to migration of daily activities to the online environment, whether we are talking about work, online shopping, streaming, and so on. Consequently, the increase of the volume of online connection brings us to the associated risks. The main threat, of course, being cybercrime. Attackers always try to adapt and especially use the context, if possible, in their attempt to trick users into performing some malicious actions for their devices, for their data. And the emergence of the pandemic has been a huge chance for them. Unfortunately, the level of preparedness for all types of users, starting with the common user, stagnated or has been insufficient in this period if we are to strongly consider the fact that the complexity and the volume of the attacks are on the rise. This is the current situation in cybersecurity at international level, and we have to do something to raise preparedness among common users, among public institutions, companies, and so on. And we have to start with countries assessing their level of maturity with the national cybersecurity strategy objectives to help them enhance and also build cybersecurity capabilities, both at strategic and at operational level. In other words, EU member states, including Romania here, should first of all develop a long-term strategy with good practices documented and guidelines. Actually, the EU Agency for Cybersecurity, which is ENISA, already provided last year a report that presents their work to build national capabilities assessment framework. So we have to start by identifying missing elements within the national cybersecurity strategies. Obviously, generally, all member states are usually facing a different variety of challenges when building these cybersecurity capabilities, and more specifically when ensuring that the capabilities are updated with the latest developments in the field of cybersecurity. So as you know, cooperation is key in cyber, whether we think about cooperation inside an organization, cooperation at national level or at international level. In order to have an efficient response to cybersecurity incidents or other issues, you have to rely on clear procedures and policies that are in place. Otherwise, coordinating cybersecurity efforts at national level could be a serious challenge, especially if there is a high number of stakeholders involved in the process. So establishing public-private partnership is another important point in the NCSS for fighting against cyber attacks, detecting threats, for protecting users and infrastructure, and surely for responding accordingly while recovering from the impact of an incident. So there are a few examples of efficient cooperation that we are fortunate to take part in here at CERT Romania, especially if we take into account public-private partnerships and cooperation with law enforcement agencies. For instance, we don't have any law enforcement capabilities at CERT Romania when investigating cybersecurity incidents, so we are relying heavily on relationship developed between our institutions and other organizations. Another good practice which we could mention is the field of cybersecurity awareness, where awareness campaigns are usually vital for keeping users updated and also prepared for most common threats that we encounter online. The best example for this would be CERT Cyber Volunteers 19 Romania initiative to provide specialized, free, and constant cybersecurity protection and advice for all medical units in Romania interested to signing up to this program. Basically, CERT and a group of volunteers which are experts in cybersecurity offer their free time without any cost to ensure that health sector is concentrating on what they're supposed to do, especially in this harsh period, and that is saving and protecting human lives, rather than dealing with cybersecurity incidents and blockages determined by it. So ENISA recent study identified common strategic objectives in the national cybersecurity strategies covered by member states. And you have to start with developing a national contingency plan with clear definition of what constitutes a cyber crisis from the national point of view. Because in this case, at European level, there is also the Cyber Crisis Liaison Organization Network, which is Cyclone, that pushes forward the Commission's blueprint for rapid emergency response for large-scale cross-border cyber incidents or crises, and complements also the existing cybersecurity structures at EU level by linking the cooperation and technical to the political levels. So with this, Cyclone actually fulfills two fundamental objectives, which is enabling consultations on national response strategies and coordinated impact assessment on the anticipated or observed impact of a crisis to the benefit of policy decision makers, both at national and EU level. And the same initiative has to be shifted up to national level, where you have to explain the criteria that should be used to define a situation as a crisis, define key processes and actions for handling the crisis, and clearly define the roles and responsibilities of different stakeholders. Another key challenge would be establishing baseline security measures by synchronizing, if possible, different practices followed by the organization in both public and private sector. For this, you need a common language between the competent public authorities and the organizations, while building open, secure communication channels, enabling stakeholders to check and benchmark their cybersecurity capabilities, to share information about good practices and in every industry sector, and help them prioritize investments on security. Furthermore, it is important to institutionalize cooperation between public agencies in order to increase the cooperation between them. Also touching on the importance of cooperation and coordination at both national and international level, we must not forget the importance of constantly participating in cybersecurity exercises, which usually help stakeholders firstly identify what needs to be tested, like procedures, capabilities of incident response, cooperation, communication, then find the right people for the recurring task that could integrate cyber exercises between the life cycle of the national cybersecurity strategy. The experience and lessons learned from previous incidents dealt with or cyber exercise conclusions could be translated also into establishing an incident response capability, which takes into account roles and responsibilities that need to be allocated to the team by the respective government, a list of services that a team provides to its constituency, operational capabilities, and last but not least, cooperation capabilities. Going further on this, maybe two of the most important objectives that national cybersecurity strategies should cover are awareness raising dedicated to all kinds of users and strengthening training and educational programs. So if you look at the statistical point of view, who is usually an attacker targeting, the main victim of a cyber attack are usually the common users, the regular users. We are not talking about people that specialize in IT, but simple people who use technology in their private life or work. And let's not forget that 90% of cyber attacks are directed at individual users because it is less costly to exploit a person's lack of attention or naivety than trying to compromise information systems through existing vulnerabilities. So from the reports generated by Search Romania during the years concerning cybersecurity incidents that affect users in Romania, it is quite easy to state that the human error or lack of adequate training often facilitates the success of an attack. Unfortunately, we also find ourselves in the last place, European level, in the digital education chapter, which is sufficiently propagated and developed at national level in relation to the need generated by the service itself. Thus, attackers often take advantage of this reality and use the resources here, compromising devices or workstations used by users in Romania, to use them for launching new attacks. So there is a need to identify such gaps in knowledge concerning cybersecurity or information security issues and solve it by raising awareness, by developing, strengthening basic cybersecurity knowledge for the population, which could translate actually to basic cybersecurity hygiene. So cybersecurity education programs should be enhanced at national level, not only in schools, high schools or universities, but also take into account the need to encourage students to join, then prepare them to enter the cybersecurity field, promote, encourage relationships between information security academic environments and the information security industry, for instance, improve operational capabilities of the existing information security workforce, and also align cybersecurity training with business needs. Another important chapter is research and development one, which usually aims to identify the real causes of the vulnerabilities instead of burying their impact. The goal is to bring together scientists from different disciplines to provide solutions to multidimensional and complex problems, and also underline the needs of industry and findings of the researchers, which facilitates transitions from theory to practice. Other important points that should not be absent from national cybersecurity strategy refer to giving strong motivation, for instance, for the private sector to keep investing in cybersecurity measures and foster business continuity while protecting critical information infrastructure, operators of essential services and digital service providers. This will ensure a secure and trustworthy digital market, let's not forget, at both national and international level. Surely there are laws in place which, such as GDPR or NIS directive, that clearly specify a level of preparedness for operators and digital service providers, rules that are required to have in order to continue their business, as well as a number of obligations, such as the need to report cybersecurity incidents. Yet this is not a positive motivation, but rather an obligation. So you have to find additional ways to motivate. Then you have to somehow address the cybercrime phenomena in a strategic and efficient manner, because we are already talking about cybercrime ecosystem, since cybercrime groups often have a complex supply chains, like real software companies, for instance, and they regularly develop relationships within this cybercrime network in order to acquire access to essential technology that enables operators to maximize their profits. We often talk about attribution, about threat actors and their hacking operations as individual events. So who is to blame? But in reality, the cybercrime ecosystem is far more interconnected than we might realize. So in order to counter such actors, we need to have strong laws in the area of cybercrime. So we need to invest and increase effectiveness of law enforcement agencies also. That's about it. I don't know if I managed to be in time with all of it.
No, absolutely. So Mihai, thank you very much. It was a really good radiography and the picture of what's happening currently in Romania. And when it comes to
what we
this,
need,
when it comes to cyber attack, you mentioned at one point in time the education and at the end of the day, the computer hygiene. Do you think, or did you measure, or did you notice at CERT somehow an increasing, the level of education in cybersecurity increase in a general terms, or we are still on the same pretty low level?
I can talk about actually empirical evidence. As you said, I deal with communication inside CERT Romania, so I deal constantly with users reporting certain type of activities regarding cybercrime, and I'm very happy to see people that report scams, phishing attacks, which are very complex, and they realize that it's a scam or a phishing attack because we explained at one point in awareness materials how to detect such attacks. So yes, I can state that, but unfortunately, if we look at the European level, at the reports that are there, like the digital index, for instance, we also see a constant of Romania being in the last places at European level regarding education and cybersecurity hygiene. Although we have one of the most, one of the fastest internet speeds, which is ironic actually. So we have to do something about this, and we have to start from the basic level, from education in schools, maybe kindergartens.
Kindergarten, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mihai. Education should start from kindergarten. Thank you very much for you and for CERT, our organization that protect us and gave us a lot of support, at least for the public sector. Thank you very much, and stay with us.
Surely.